Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the 5 p.m. podcast. I'm Dan, and as always, I'm here with Tina, ready to dive into a pretty intense topic today.
Hey, Dan. Hey, everyone. Yeah, this one's a doozy. We're talking about Trump's plan to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and the reasons behind it, which tie into some serious border concerns.
Right. So basically what's happening is Trump is citing national emergency powers, specifically the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to put these tariffs in place.
Okay, wait, let me get this straight. IEEPA? That sounds significant. Can we break that down a bit? What exactly times that, and why is it being used here?
Yeah, so IEEPA is this federal law that lets the president regulate commerce after declaring a national emergency in response to any unusual and extraordinary threat which, in this case, originates outside the U.S. So think fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration.
That's fascinating. But how does it, connect to tariffs? Is this a common use of that power?
It's kind of a big deal. It gives the president broad authority. It allows him to impose these tariffs without needing to go through the usual congressional approval processes. He's saying, this is an emergency, I'm acting now.
I can already hear our listeners thinking, okay, but what does this mean for me? What are the actual tariffs we're talking about?
So we're looking at a 25% tariff on most goods coming in from Mexico and Canada. But, and this is important, energy imports are only getting hit with a 10% tariff. It's a pretty big difference.
25%. You know what this reminds me of? The tariffs we saw during Trump's first term against China. Remember those?
Oh man, this is the cool part. It's similar, but also different. Those earlier tariffs, like the ones on steel, were more about protecting specific industries. Here, these new ones are directly linked to border security and the opioid crisis.
So it's not times an economic move, it's also a security move? This might sound weird, but, is that even allowed? Using tariffs to fight, essentially, a drug war?
That's the big debate, right? The White House is arguing that the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigration constitutes a national emergency, and under IEEPA, that gives them the legal justification, at least, in their view.
I have to ask the obvious question. What are Mexico and Canada saying about all this? Are they just gonna, take it?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. They could retaliate with their times tariffs on U.S. goods. We could be looking at a full-blown trade war, which wouldn't be pretty.
A trade war. So, higher prices for consumers, businesses struggling, that sort of thing?
Exactly. And it's not just about the money. This could seriously damage our relationships with two of our biggest trading partners and neighbors.
Let's back up for a second. We keep mentioning fentanyl. Just how big of a problem is it, really?
It's huge. I was just reading about this, and the numbers are staggering. We're talking tens of thousands of pounds of fentanyl seized at the border just last year. And sadly, a shocking number of overdose deaths linked to it.
So there's a very real human cost to this. Beyond the economic impact, it's a lot to take in.
It is. And that's what makes this so complex. There are these legitimate security concerns, but also very real economic risks associated with these tariffs. Finding the right balance. That's the challenge.
And it sounds like it's far from over. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this and seeing how it develops. Thanks for breaking it all down, Dan.
Anytime, Tina. This is definitely one to watch. And that's all the time we have for today. Join us next time on the 5 p.m. podcast for more deep dives into the world of politics.